Hey, Samford fans, welcome to another edition of The New Normal, where we talk with student athletes, coaches, and staff about the changes brought on by COVID-19. Today, I'm happy to be joined by baseball head coach Casey Dunn. Casey, appreciate you taking some time. I know you're busy. You got a lot going on these days.
John, excited to be here, buddy. Just, driving around town, tell people my truck has become my new office. Get in the car, drive around, make phone calls, whether it's, current players, recruits, donors, whoever it might be. This is kind of my time to get by myself and try to get some work done.
Well, let's start by going back to early March when all of this started unfolding. And you guys actually had a home game against Alabama A&M just a couple of days before the whole sports world essentially shut down. Did you have any sense at that point of what was coming, or was it pretty much just business as usual?
No, I think during that game, we felt pretty good in terms of at least continuing for a little while longer. But, when it hit, it obviously hit very abruptly and, caused us to have to rethink a lot of things. Our road trip, we actually had Jacksonville State coming in the weekend of the shutdown. And, that event got canceled actually first by them. Their conference jumped the gun and was the first between our two leagues to announce that we were halting play. So we knew we were in for something. And, obviously it wasn't but a few days later when we realized that the season was coming to an end and we were going to have to send our players home.
When you first did hear the news that the SoCon was suspending play first through March and then eventually through the remainder of the spring, what were your initial thoughts and reactions?
But, first of all, I was appreciative of our conference and also our university of, trying to give us a chance to resume. Several leagues and universities made the decision right off the bat, just, hey, season's over. And, both the conference and our university kind of, said the end of March, let's see what's happening. And then, we didn't have to wait that long before it became clear that, things were not going to continue. But, we at least got to kind of pause a little bit. And, I think in some ways it probably helped our guys not being ended right there that day, but kind of having 3 or 4 days to kind of process things before it really became clear that, the season was done.
I'm sure a lot of your team was following along on social media as other conferences and professional leagues were canceling what seemed really like every 5 minutes. And so some of them, maybe all of them, found out about it through social media, through Twitter. But did you get a chance to talk to them as a group about what was happening before everyone was sent home?
Yeah, we did, man. And again, that's where, I'm thankful for Samford kind of allowing our guys. And again, we were together, we were kind of quarantined ourselves. So, being over spring break, none of our guys had left. We were all together. So we were able to have kind of 3 or 4 days to really meet and process things. And, actually did a couple of things together as a team with meals and some stuff. I actually was able to have a going away season ending dinner. But, I think it was good to allow our guys to be together. When the cancellation started happening, we were able to call our guys up to the locker room and just kind of talk through it. When the NCAA announced the cancellation of the College World Series, that was kind of another step, knowing that, hey, this isn't going to happen. So, social media definitely drove things. Be nice to go back in time where, a coach can deliver, upsetting news to the team face to face. But in today's time, man, the guys find out as soon as I found out. So, but we were able to gather and get together and talk things out. And, we had a very close knit group of kids this year. I think that was one of the reasons we were off to a very successful start, is just the camaraderie and the bond that our guys had. And, I think being together and, being in the same locker room as we were talking through these difficulties, I think it was good for each of our 34 guys.
Eligibility was, of course, a hot topic in the aftermath of this as well. And the Division I Council did grant a waiver for an additional year of eligibility. And I'm sure the reaction from the team, and especially the seniors, was very positive. But talk about it a little from the perspective of running a program, because something like this is sure to have some ripple effects and some major challenges associated with it.
Well, I tell you, man, the first part is I really do believe the NCAA did the right thing in granting these kids another year. When you look at it and, Heck, football has the 25% rule or whatever to redshirt now. And, we hadn't even played 25% of our season. So I do believe it was the right decision. But the ripple effect and all the issues that it's causing for myself and other coaches around the country is real. For this coming season, for the 21 season, it's not as big of an issue because your seniors that choose to return are going to be exempt from your roster, exempt from scholarship limitations and different things. But, the impact it's going to have is really a 3 to 4 year impact when you look at, freshmen are now freshmen again. So in essence, next year we'll have 2 freshman classes. Our sophomores are sophomores again. So, really having to go back, and as early as recruiting is going on now, we've had to rethink some decisions with some of our younger guys in the recruiting process. We've had to adjust some verbal offers to some younger kids and in that 21 class. And, it's providing definitely a lot of issues for us in terms of roster management over the next 3 or 4 years.
I'm sure. I mean, the MLB draft changes also might have an effect on this because they've gone from 40 rounds to just 5 rounds. So I'm sure a lot of draft eligible juniors around the country, maybe even within your own program that were maybe leaning towards going pro, are now more likely going to be returning to school.
Yeah, John, I don't think there's any question, and not just your juniors. In our case, we really felt like Brooks Carlson and Sam Strickland. I mean, they were gone. A full season, a normal draft. Both of those guys were off to great starts, and they would have easily gotten the money that they would have wanted and would have been draft pick signing and starting their professional career sometime at the end of June. Now with the shortening of the draft, and you mentioned 5 rounds, which is the lowest that's been approved through the players agreement. There's talk now of some organizations really trying to push to get it to a 10-round draft. And if it's a 10 round, I think it brings our guys back into consideration. 5-round draft, I think both Brooks and Sam will be back. 10-round draft, I think both of those guys will have at least a chance of getting into that top 10 rounds. So that adds a factor. But also, John, with the shortening of the draft, you got guys in our program like a Taylor Garris, a Carson Cupo, guys that were quality senior players that in a normal draft year, could have been later round draft picks that got an opportunity to go and fill a role on a lower level minor league team that now aren't going to get that opportunity more than likely. So, that adds to more of those seniors wanting to come back is those guys that probably would have got an opportunity at the next level that, now are trying to figure a way to get back to school.
Yeah, you mentioned Kupo and Garris. Do you have a sense of what other seniors may be coming back for another year?
But, I tell you, we're in a unique situation with our guys in the sense that 11 of our 12 seniors will graduate on time. And, the great part about that is that it gives them flexibility to come back and pursue a master's program, something along those lines in a professional school. So there is some academic advantage if some of our guys choose to come back. Of our 12, I think 2 of our guys have already decided that, the best thing to do is for them to move on, and that's understandable. I think both of those guys are making the right decision. One of those is Connor Radcliffe, who's a really sharp kid who, would have exhausted eligibility this year, but he's already got his, degree from Samford. He completes his MBA this summer. It's like, man, he doesn't have any more school to do at this point. So, he'll move into the workforce and, obviously be a loss for our program. But, again, I think it's the right thing for him when you look at where he's at academically and professionally. Our other 10 guys are still contemplating it. I think out of the, 12, like I said, 10 guys are considering, Zach Hester for sure is coming back. With his injury early in the season, he had kind of made that decision before the pandemic began. So, Zach, we know for sure. Like I said, Carson and Taylor, Hamp Skinner, Ryan Crockett, Jesse Ford, all those guys are in the process of trying to figure out what grad programs make sense for them, what that's going to look like from a financial standpoint, and to the timing of it. We've got, I think, 5 or 6 guys that are looking at starting their MBA this summer. If they've got a chance to come back, play another year, and leave Samford University not just with an undergraduate, but with also a master's degree, man, that would be a pretty good opportunity for those kids. And I think at this point, they're in the process of applying for grad school and going through that to see what's going to happen.
I know how important summer camps are to your program and programs across the country. And obviously, we don't really know how long this is going to last, but there is a chance this goes through summer and into fall. What would the impact be of losing summer camps if it comes to that?
Well, I think, for everybody at our level, there is a recruiting element to the summer camps. And, we can go out, we can watch games, we can, recruit in summer venues or high school venues. But when you get a chance to have a kid that you have interest in your camp setting, on your campus, it's an opportunity to interact with them. It's an opportunity to be able to give them instruction and see how they're able to apply what you think they need to do. And, I think you lose that aspect. And two, from the kid's standpoint, the summer camp is a great opportunity for the potential athlete to get a sense of what the coaching staff is like. In the recruiting process, it's easy to talk nice and be friendly to kids and families. But when you get on the field with them, you get in the cage, you get in a bullpen, it's a great opportunity for the kid to see how coaches are going to relate to you in terms of helping you develop and get better. So, losing that ability, I think will have some impact. Obviously, if we're not having summer camps, there's probably not a lot of summer baseball being played either. And I think that's going to really slow the recruiting process for, the younger kids that are coming through. And then the other side that's real at our level is the financial impact. Obviously in college baseball, your third assistant is labeled a quote volunteer, and no different at Samford than other schools in the country. A bulk of his income comes off of the summer camps, and, being able to take care of Coach Moss in our situation, who, is really good at what he does and is a valuable asset to our staff. The camp setting is how he is taken care of financially. So, we need to get to that point, to be able to take care of him. And, again, myself and our other assistants, that camp income it's realistic, man. That's something that is real for all of us. But at the same time, there are a lot of people hurting financially through this issue right now with the virus. So, we're only a small part of those struggling. And, quite honestly, financially, we're not getting impacted nearly as bad as a lot of other people and small business owners. So my heart truly goes out to those folks that are trying to maintain a business right now. And, just very thankful that I'm in the situation I'm in right now. And, man, really saying prayers for those guys that are trying to fight and hold on to their businesses right now.
Yeah, and you're talking about recruiting. You're in the midst of a dead period right now, which means no face-to-face, no visits to campus from prospective student athletes. Now, you can still communicate through FaceTime, Zoom, really anything technology-based, but I'm sure it makes the process a little bit more challenging.
It really does. And, I think, in some ways we're fortunate that with the reclassification, so to speak, of our current roster, our 21 recruiting class is really small. We've completed our 20 class. We signed a great group of kids in the fall and actually added one this spring, but we've got 16 new guys coming into our program next year that we're really excited about. So from a recruiting standpoint, it's really been more about trying to stay in touch with those 16 guys as they finish up their senior years online, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to, trying to answer questions for those kids and their parents about how this reclassification is going to affect them and the opportunities that, they have at Samford. And the reality is it's not the same as it was when they signed 6 months ago. Those opportunities have changed, but at the same time, just reiterating to those guys that, they are the future of our program. While we're excited to get some of these older guys back, and, I look forward to having an older group of guys to mentor this group of 16 guys coming in. But at the same time, the new guys are the future. The older guys will help us for another year or two, but this group of 16 is going to be really important to our program. It's a group that, probably I think at the end of the day we'll have the highest national ranking in terms of a recruiting class that we've brought in on the front end. I'll hesitate to say it's the best class we've brought in, because we've had 2 recruiting classes that both produced 9 draft picks. So, it's going to be tough to say that, you get 9 draft picks out of a recruiting class. But on paper and rankings and all that kind of stuff, this is a really strong group coming in, and I'm excited to get them here and get them around some of our older guys and allow them to kind of grow and see the culture that we have within our program. And really more than that, just understand the expectations that we have for our team and also for our guys individually.
Casey, appreciate your time. And real quick before I let you go, what's been on the Netflix and Hulu queue for you over the last couple of weeks? Maybe a little bit of Tiger King?
Man, I have done the full Tiger King. I even watched the Joel McCabe recap special last night. There's no question that Carroll did it. I think we can all agree with that. My wife has is binge watching Criminal Minds. That was a show we watched years ago, and somehow she got back into it. So, we probably watch, heck, I bet we watch 4 or 5 of those a day right now. You talk about disturbing, man. It's, you think, man, somebody had to write these things, man. But, that's been the big one for her. Like I said, the Tiger King is entertaining. I've got a 16-year-old son that has not seen some of the classic movies of the early years. We've watched Police Academy and Naked Gun, some of the true stupid movies of all time. And Sam kind of shares my enjoyment of bad humor. So we've kind of gone through some of the classics with those. So it's been interesting, man, trying to get 2 teenagers to do work online. My daughter is a rock star in the sense that she is detailed and going to get everything done. My son, not so much. It's a fight getting Sam to get his work in before he goes to the golf course. But thankfully for his sanity, golf courses are still open and he can go hit the ball around a little bit. But it's been fun. I think one of the unintended blessings of this is, I've been home with my family more than I have at any point of my coaching career. Even in the off season, there's so many things you have to do that take you out of the home. But, with this, man, just being able to spend time with the family and, outside of, about a 2 or 3 hour drive to make phone calls every day, really just getting to be around my wife. And, I'm not so sure her and my kids will tell you they're enjoying it, but I'm enjoying being at home and around my family some right now.
Casey, thanks again. I appreciate your time.
John, man, we enjoyed it, buddy, and hopefully we'll see you in person soon.
I hope so. I'm John McAfee. That'll do it for this edition of The New Normal. Stay tuned to our Samford Athletics social media channels for more interviews with coaches, athletes, and staff.